talk about polar coordinates, how you can plot polar coordinates, and then how you can find multiple representations for the same point. So we're going to start with 3 pi over 4. If we were to plot this, we would want to locate where's pi over 4, which is smack dab in the middle of the first quadrant, and then count out towards it, 3 units towards that angle. 1, 2, 3. This would be like counting out 3 circles if this were on the polar coordinate graph paper. So there's the point. Now we can represent the same point in different ways because we can describe this angle in many different ways, right? Actually, any coterminal angle is going to work. So I'm going to keep the r value the same, and I want to represent the same point with another positive angle and another negative angle. All you have to do is add or subtract 2 pi, but I want to visually show you why. Say we wanted a larger angle that went all the way around and then back up again. Can you see why we would get that by adding 2 pi to our original value? All right, so if we take 2 pi plus pi over 4, that's 2 pi plus, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a common denominator. This will be 8 pi over 4 plus pi over 4, which is 9 pi over 4. All right, there's one answer. Now I want to get an answer that has a negative angle. Visualizing this, well, all right, here's our original point. We want to rotate in the clockwise direction. So there's what the negative angle would look like. And you get that value by subtracting 2 pi from the original angle. So we started with pi over 4, subtract 2 pi off of it. That's pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4, which is negative 7 pi over 4. Alrighty. Okay, so the short story of what's going on here is that if r stays the same, you can add or subtract 2 pi to get different representations. And you can add or subtract it as many times as you want. So we could keep on adding it over and over again, or keep on subtracting it over and over again, always from the starting point, which was pi over 4. Okay, now the other thing that we can do is change the sign of r. So let's look at doing that now. Just to get some stuff out of the way, I'm going to erase what I have so far, and we're going to try to come up with a couple answers that are equivalent representations that have -3 as the r value. Start over here. Okay. So we want our point to wind up right there, right? Which means that the angle that we pair up with the -3 value needs to be exactly opposite, exactly across from the angle that we started with. So rather than using pi over 4, we want the angle that's across from it in the third quadrant. You know what angle that is? What angle is right in the middle of the third quadrant? Goes pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, right? So your answer here is going to be 5 pi over 4. Okay? So remember, when you learned about how to graph these points, if you wanted to graph something like this, you would locate the angle, which would be down here, and you would count in the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, to wind up back there. What we're actually doing, though, is taking our angle and adding pi to it. That gives you that 5 pi over 4. That makes sense? Okay, now let's try to come up with another one that would work. Basically, we just need another representation of this angle down here. So, what if we took pi over 4 and we subtracted pi from it? You get negative 3 pi over 4. Wouldn't that be over here? Because it'd be, okay, negative pi over 4 is down here. That'd be negative 3 pi over 4. Yep, and then if the r value is negative, we count opposite of it, 1, 2, 3, and we wind up right exactly where we were to begin with, which is what we want. Okay, so what we did here, the short story of this, is that if the sign of r changes, add or subtract pi to get different representations. You have to be careful here. So you can't keep adding pi or keep subtracting pi, because what would happen if you added pi twice? Wouldn't that really be adding 2 pi? So that wouldn't work, right? What you could do really here is, it's not just pi that you can add or subtract, although that works. You can add or subtract any odd multiple of pi. So you could add 3 pi or subtract 3 pi, or add 5 pi or subtract 5 pi, right? And that's the technique you're going to use if you change the value of r. Okay? Then to change your angle, you add or subtract odd multiples of pi. Okay, hopefully this cleared things up for you a little bit, all right?